I'm Reverend J. Stewart Glover, and you are listening to Faith Talk. Today, we are joined again by Stephen Beard, who has contributed immensely to this podcast platform discussing the around the topic of metabolic health. So, Stephen, please come on and introduce yourself, and let's get into this discussion around attacking type 2 diabetes.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you, Reverend Glover, for the introduction. So I'm Stephen Beard, and I am a nutritionist and a board-certified wellness practitioner, as well as a diabetes prevention coach. And I've been living with type 1 diabetes for roughly more than 25, 26 years. And that is what has gotten me into the career field that I am in. And it's where my passion comes from. So we will be diving into type 2 diabetes today.
So, Stephen, let me just ask you this. You said you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Did you make it to type 2?
I'm going to say, thank God, no, I didn't.
Good, good.
No. So type 1 is different than type 2. If you are diagnosed with type 1, there's no possible way you will become a type 2. That just means that your pancreas does not work. And you could possibly be diagnosed with type 2 and then lead into type 1 if you don't have the proper interventions and lifestyle changes.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about type 2 diabetes, what exactly are we talking about?
Great question. So we first want to look at the hormone insulin because that's what it's all centered around. And insulin is a hormone, and it's made by your pancreas. And anytime that we eat, the pancreas releases the insulin. Insulin is the hormone, and it acts like it's a key to all of the cells in our body. And it will enter the bloodstream and carry all of the glucose or blood or sugar that's in our blood to all the cells in our body for our cells to use for energy. So if someone has type 2 diabetes, that means the cells in the body are not responding normally to the insulin. And that is referred to as insulin resistance. So your pancreas will continue to work overtime to continue pumping more insulin into the bloodstream to carry out all of this sugar or glucose that's in your blood, trying to get all of the cells in your body to respond. And then eventually, over a period of time, the pancreas cannot continue to keep up with the load of pumping out the insulin. So then your blood sugar continues to rise, and then it stays high. So in our previous podcast, we spoke about pre-diabetes. So that's kind of the precursor before diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. And then once your blood sugar or your A1C numbers hit a specific number, then that's when you're actually diagnosed with type 2. And studies continue to happen every single day regarding diabetes, but really the result of becoming a type 2 diabetic is mainly because of two problems. The first one is your cells. So that would be your cells in your muscles, your fat, and your liver become resistant to insulin. And then the second one would be the pancreas can't make enough insulin to keep the blood sugar levels within a healthy range.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, you said that we're talking about glucose, and which is a form of sugar in your blood, right? And you mentioned that it's used for energy. So there is a certain amount of glucose that is needed.
100%, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to vary from person to person. And our bodies are a magnificent, fascinating machine. And it knows how much glucose it needs, and it knows when it has too much.
Mm-hmm. And so when I say that, though, I don't want to be misleading, for people to say, well, I need glucose, so let me just go out and have some donuts and pastries and candies and other types of foods that'll cause these spikes in your glucose levels.
No. So when I say glucose, your carbohydrates and your proteins can actually be broken down and converted into glucose. Mm-hmm. So I'm 6'2". I weigh 225 pounds. I need minimal glucose continuously just to make sure my brain is functioning properly, my eyes are functioning properly, my organs are functioning properly. And then because I'm extremely athletic, I work out and all that other good stuff, my muscles are extremely healthy, so they need the glucose as well to make sure that my body has the energy that it needs to move and to perform its daily functions. So I would need more glucose than the average person. But when we're talking about that, you can get that glucose from eating fresh fruits or eating whole grains or beans and legumes, mm-hmm. versus a donut, drinking sugary drinks, and all that other harmful, toxic types of foods.
White bread, white rice.
Oh, anything white, yes, mm-hmm. 100%.
So now you talk about getting the an acceptable level of glucose from fruits. Now, is it possible that there can be too much glucose? I mean, if somebody sat down and drank 2 quarts of orange juice, because it's juice, can that increase or cause an insulin spike, as they say?
So yes, insulin spikes are inevitable. It's just a basic physiological function that happens when we practically put anything into our mouth other than water, mm-hmm. and other than a healthy fat, because a healthy fat will not spike your glucose unless it's mixed with, processed types of foods. So we're going to experience insulin spikes. It's how often are we having these types of foods, or how frequently, mm-hmm. and in what consumption rate, and what size of a portion is what's going to make the difference in, are we overloading our pancreas, and are we flooding our cells and they can't start to accept any more glucose, versus keeping our cells healthy and preventing insulin resistance to start occurring.
Mm-hmm. And, so you mentioned how often you're experiencing these insulin spikes. I'm imagining that people with poor dietary habits can experience these insulin spikes frequently. I mean, practically almost like on a daily basis. And what's the danger of that?
So the danger of the insulin spikes is just going to be, over a period of time, your pancreas is just going to end up giving up. So we're going to want to make sure that we do have the insulin spikes, but the most important thing is, when the spike occurs, how long does it take to be able to bring that spike back down and to normalize your blood sugar? And these are the things that I wish every single person was capable of visualizing and seeing within their own body, because we as diabetics, we have a CGM, which is a glucose monitoring system, and it's changed my entire life, just being able to see how a certain type of food affects my blood sugar, and I'm able to see my blood glucose 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the most important thing is, yes, we're going to have the insulin spikes, the blood sugar spikes, but the most important thing is keeping it to a minimum and making sure that we're able to normalize our blood sugars as quickly as possible. Because the longer the blood sugar spikes stay high, the more damage is actually being done to all of our organs internally, because it's too much too much sugar in our blood. And then that's going to eventually start to cause insulin resistance, which then causes a huge domino effect within the body.
I was reading something that prolonged elevated glucose levels can damage your blood vessels, nerves, and organs, and contribute to complications such as heart disease, stroke, kidney problems, nerve damage. So we're talking very harmful effects from these poor management of the insulin and the sugar levels, I should say. Is type 2 diabetes, first of all, is it reversible?
So I'm going to say yes for most people. And I'm saying that is because it really depends how long you've actually had the disease, because there are different stages. So if you are someone who has been diagnosed with type 2, you're on oral medication, and you're having to go on insulin, studies have not shown that you would be able to reverse that condition, because your pancreas is just about ready to not produce any more insulin at all. So you're on your way to becoming a type 1. But if you're early years, early stages of having type 2 diabetes, 100%, it is reversible. And then just to make this clear, reversible does not mean cured. Reversible is just the language in the diabetic world. That means you can reverse your condition. And as long as you stay on track with your lifestyle changes, that was allowed you to reverse your type 2 diabetes condition, then you would be able to stay, quote unquote, in remission. But once you step outside of those lifestyle changes, or you revert back to your previous lifestyle choices, then obviously your type 2 diabetes will return.
So under the through the lens of lifestyle changes and holistic approaches to managing this condition holistically, what are some of the holistic approaches to managing this condition?
Great question. So holistic means the whole person. So we're looking at the person as a whole and all different frameworks or domains of their life. So you really want to make sure that you're encompassing dietary changes. You're focusing on physical activity. A lot of people don't realize that stress has plays a huge role in creating insulin resistance, increasing blood sugars, and all that other stuff. So stress management and reduction, I would say, is probably a little bit more important than what you actually put in your mouth from a food perspective. We have weight management. So we probably want to focus on weight loss first. And then after we lose the weight that's needed to be lost, then we want to focus on managing the weight. And then sleep quality. Again, great quality of sleep is astronomically important. Studies even show that if someone consistently, meaning more than 2 days in a row, gets less than the appropriate 7 to 9 hours of sleep, your body can be resistant to insulin the following day. So for many people out there who are very very busy with their lives, working all these extra hours, and they don't think getting a good night's sleep is important. I really want to stress it's very, very important, because 2 nights in a row of less than 7 to 9 hours of sleep can put you in an insulin resistant state the following day.
Wow. So, again, I don't know why this thought keeps popping up in my head, but, I've heard of people, one gentleman said he was going to just fast and eat fruit only. And I'm thinking that there's a possibility that there may be too much sugar that comes from the fruit. So are there differences in types of fruits that you can eat that perhaps don't spike the or raise the sugar levels in your blood so drastically?
Yes, there are. Anyone who's pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetic, or even if you're just trying to be preventative, we really want to get familiar with a couple words. So the first one would be glycemic index. And the glycemic index just more or less will list out the foods as far as the effects that it would have on your blood sugar. It's ranked low, medium, and high. And then you also have glycemic load. And then the glycemic load looks more at the portion of what it is that you're actually eating. So when it comes to the fruit, you do want to stay mostly low glycemic. And low glycemic fruit is going to be all of your berries. So whether that's a strawberry, a raspberry, a blackberry, a blueberry, a cherry as well, those are all going to be low glycemic, which are fantastic because they're also loaded with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. So load up on them. Apples, pears, you're going to start getting into the low medium glycemic index, which is still okay. But you don't really want to go higher than that level unless you're able to wear a CGM, which is a glucose monitoring system, and kind of like see how a specific fruit reacts to your body, because everyone is completely different. So some diabetics are able to eat certain types of foods that are a little bit more starchy, that have a little bit more sugar in them, and it doesn't have the same effect as it does on other diabetics.
Mm-hmm. But even like you mentioned, apples, I mean, there's a difference between, for me, my understanding is that there's a difference between having an apple and sitting down and making a 10-ounce glass of apple juice. That would take a lot of apples.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. You would always just want to eat your fruit. Don't go out and buy fruit juice. Fruit juice, if you look at the ingredient list, there's going to be a lot of added sugar in it, and some other additives and stuff added to it. So your best bet is just to purchase the fruit and to eat it plain Jane.
Mm-hmm. I guess there's a bit of a misperception. People say, well, I drink juice, it's healthy, and they drink large amounts, buy these gallon bottles of apple juice and end up causing a problem through the misunderstanding of, well, juice is healthy for you. So I guess whatever we do, we need to do it in moderation.
Correct, because that's what I say. Anything can be harmful to the body, regardless of whether it's deemed healthy or not healthy, or good or bad, nutrient dense or calorie dense. Everything just needs to be consumed in moderation and within portions.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, do we have any final thoughts or comments relative to attacking type 2 diabetes head on?
Yeah, if I can have maybe just a couple more minutes. When we're talking about, holistic approaches, a couple things that has really helped with some of my clients in my program is really focusing on herbal protocols. And some of the listeners who's listening to this, maybe yourself, may have heard this, but apple cider vinegar, and this would be the organic raw type of apple cider vinegar. It has a significant influence on the progression of diabetes, but it also supports like your appetite, and it supports weight management as well as regulating blood glucose, so your blood sugar. So it's good if you have the time to be able to drink a serving, which would be a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar before you eat. This will definitely help slow the increase in blood sugar post-prandial, which is after you eat. And then something else, as it has been another one, is a berberine. It is a plant herb, and it reduces both your fasting blood glucose and postprandial glucose as well. And it helps improve your A1C readings as well. So
could you repeat the name of that?
Berberine.
Okay.
It's BERBERINE.
Okay.
And I think that's sold. I think I even saw that on the shelves in Walmart the other day. So I know you can get it online, but health food stores will carry it. And then I guess I'd seen it at Walmart. So maybe even places like Walmart and Target as well.
And you mentioned different types of fruits, and I'm thinking about different types of a lot of people like rice. And I'm imagining, earlier you said anything that's white can be potentially hazardous. Are there any sorts of rices? Like I think that, the jasmine rice has a higher glycemic index than a brown rice, let's say.
Yes. So you're going to want to test your rices because not everyone can digest brown rice. And jasmine rice is a little bit higher on the glycemic load. Basmati rice, and that's BASMATTI, I think I spelled that correctly, is the rice that, they market for type 2 diabetics.
Really?
It is supposed to be lower on the glycemic index. I am going to say I eat rice, but I eat black rice. Black rice, it's very, very earthy. I think it tastes amazing. It has very minimal effects on my blood glucose after I eat it. And I eat it about 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
So if you can get a hold of black rice, I would say look at it, buy it, try it out, and see if you like it, because I've had great success with it, and a couple of my clients have had success with that as well.
That sounds like something worth looking into. I was actually under the impression that the basmati rice was even bad for you.
Oh no, basmati rice, it's a long grain rice. So it's better than the jasmine.
All right. Well, Stephen, thanks so much for coming in. Again, you've contributed immensely to this platform. I believe, as a person of faith, I believe that God wants us to not only be attentive to our spiritual life, but include in that attentiveness what's going on in our own bodies, as God desires our wellness. So you've been listening to Faith Talk. I'm Reverend J. Stewart Glover. I would encourage you to visit the website and at www.reverendjstewartglover.com, where you can sign up as a recipient for our mailing list. You can reach me directly by email and even leave me a voicemail that I can respond to. So, Stephen, thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.